Hi, it's Kirsty and I'm joined today by my friend Banjo, who also has quite a lot to say about OCD. So I thought I'd do a video today and talk a little bit about almost uncontrollable rumination after interactions with other people. And that's whether it's interactions at work or with your friends, partner, or a new potential love interest, or with strangers even, when you're first meeting them. So it's kind of, I suppose it's linked to social anxiety. I suppose there's a lot of crossovers with OCD symptoms and various other mental health conditions. But really what it does a lot of the time come down to is a fear of what other people might think of you, embarrassment, looking stupid or something. As well as that, it could be fearing making mistakes with other people as well, saying the wrong thing, etc., and the implications there. And a big thing that can help with these fears and these ruminations is shame attacking. Which would be in the form of doing various things, maybe in public or something that you may risk being judged for. So maybe that's taking a banana for a walk on a piece of string, or maybe it's saying something potentially stupid when you're shopping, or in a social situation when you're out and about. But it's putting yourself in situations deliberately where you face judgment and embarrassment. So when you're showing your brain that you're willing to expose yourself to these things, it then becomes less of a fear in other situations. So you may feel the urge to ruminate about your personal interactions slightly less when you can bring that embarrassment down a little bit, or perhaps even it's just the tolerance for feeling embarrassed. But either way, it shows an inacceptance. Well, it suggests an inacceptance of yours to be able to mistakenly say the wrong thing, or to say something that could potentially be misunderstood or judged, when in actual fact, if we can accept ourselves as being imperfect as we do our friends and family, then we can accept from time to time something like that could be said. And we don't have to make as big a deal out of it as we often do, and we don't have to rework the conversations in our minds to show how it should have gone and what we should have said. It's a waste of time. We can't go back in time and redo the conversation. In reality, we can only go back and do it in our minds, and all you're doing there is just beating yourself up over something that, to be honest, somebody else probably won't even remember what you said or didn't say, if the case may be. As I've said previously, that my mum said to me once, is that nobody else thinks about us and the things that we say and do as much as we do, because they're too busy thinking about the things that they say and do, and potentially ruminating over that or beating themselves up. But once you start working on unconditional self-acceptance, and also disputing the irrationality of thinking that judgment and people disapproving of you is so awful, you can bring down those feelings of embarrassment and perhaps the urge to ruminate over conversations and try and pick it apart to find out where you went wrong and what you might have said. Those urges may come down slightly, but also perhaps you can start to recognize that the discomfort comes from more than just that conversation. It comes down to your OCD and some anxiety there as well. So ruminating over those conversations isn't necessarily going to help bring your discomfort down. It may do in the moment if you can go over it and rework it and think that actually, no, I didn't say something that I shouldn't have said, etc. But really that's just a compulsion, and it's kind of, you know, it's there to reduce discomfort, uncertainty, and various other difficult feelings, you know, anxiety, etc. But once you've started working through the you know, irrationality of being afraid of saying something wrong in a conversation or something like that, you may still find yourself uncontrollably ruminating. And it's the same as, you know, uncontrollably ruminating about, you know, any other particular OCD theme, whether that's harm, ROCD, POCD, etc. It will take a while for those habits in the mind to change. So again, it's letting it run its course a little bit, but not necessarily joining in with it. But once you practice these types of things after, you know, interactions with people, when you practice, you know, accepting the uncertainty that you might have said something stupid, etc. Exercises like that and resisting urges to ruminate can help you with acceptance of some of the taboo themes in OCD, whether that's POCD or harm OCD or anything else. What it comes down to is other people's disapproval and feeling ashamed, etc. So on a smaller scale, if you can practice accepting other people's disapproval or judgment, etc., just because of one small thing that you've said, over time it can help you work up towards practicing acceptance of, you know, people's reactions to you if you're struggling with those taboo themes, if you know, if the theme happened to be real, and accepting the uncertainty, very small uncertainty, that it might be real. Whether or not somebody has OCD, they still may have the urge to go over conversations and pick them apart and check whether they said the right or wrong things. So, and whether or not they suffer from general anxiety or any other types of anxiety, or whether that's social anxiety, they may still from time to time go over conversations. And this is where the working on unconditional self-acceptance is so helpful outside of your anxiety or OCD, because it helps in everyday life. So somebody who isn't struggling with a mental health problem may still from time to time have those urges, but if they were to practice unconditional self-acceptance and bringing down their levels of embarrassment or shame when it comes to other people's opinions and judgments and approvals, then they can help bring down those mental behaviours as well. But of course it can be harder for those of us who struggle with OCD to reduce those kinds of mental behaviours because of the way our minds work. But it certainly can be helpful with things like work interactions and going over, you know, what you may have said in meetings for work as well. It's accepting the uncertainty, it's accepting whether or not you've made a mistake, or it's accepting what other people think about you. So in many ways it can be helpful to help to try to reduce this mental behaviour where you can. And it does involve a degree of self-compassion as well. It's kind of allowing yourself to be able to, you know, potentially have said the wrong thing in these conversations, no matter how important they are, because you're allowed to make mistakes the same as other people are, because you're a fallible human being. I do hope this video has been helpful. If this is something that sometimes maybe brings down your mood, whether or not you feel it's kind of something that's become a real compulsion for you, or if it's just a behaviour from time to time when you're having particularly bad days, the principles of reducing the rumination and practicing the acceptance of what other people think of you can be applied to all other themes in OCD, really. But thank you very much for listening. Bye.